Hey, and welcome to another High Performer Building Pulse. We are out of the Innovation Hub today, and we've come over to Takapuna to check out Basis and their incredible showroom here. And so, obviously, in watching this, if you want to know a bit more about it, I would recommend contacting these guys and coming and seeing this whole place. It tells the whole story in a much broader scale. But yeah. So before we crack into it, thanks for joining us. I always get in trouble for not telling you to like and subscribe. But even better, if you like this, can you just do the old-fashioned thing and forward it to someone or tell somebody about it? Because I think that's probably even better than a little thumbs up at the bottom of the screen. But I've probably got Lexi glaring at me on this side. We really appreciate you being part of this. And Julyan, thanks for having us. And
it's a pleasure.
This is a bit of an incredible journey you've been on in the last sort of 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a journey. Yeah, can confirm.
Before we get into that, I think for most people, they're going, what is Basis? What are we talking about? So tell us initially the basic around what is this thing? What does it do? And obviously there's going to be a whole lot of questions that follow, but give us a bit of an intro.
How we got, I guess, to the start line of building this thing. Every single home must have, is regulated to have two things. An electricity smart meter, so your retail meter that bills you every month, and an electrical switchboard. Those two fundamental things. You can't have a dwelling or a home without it.
Right.
And what a smart panel does is it essentially combines those two different products and it puts it into a single product or experience.
Yep.
The key difference to what we've developed here is kind of in the name, we've made it smart, but we've developed technology that takes this old tech, which is essentially dumb, although smart meter is in the name. It's not truly smart.
I was going to say, I think I have a smart meter in my house. I don't know what it does. It doesn't seem to be very smart.
Yeah, well, yeah. And we can get to that later on. But so we've taken these two different products and we've smashed them together, but we've developed some really neat technology that truly does make your home smart. But it focuses at that core product in the home, which is your switchboard. That is the heart of the home.
Give us what's the top three, or what are the key benefits in using a Basis panel? What's the basics here?
Okay, I'll give you 3.5.
All right.
So what's core to our product performance or experience? We had to naturally start with safety.
Yep.
If you want to displace a switchboard, then the performance of your product has to not just match, it has to exceed it, right? You need to displace this thing. So safety we classify as a cost of entry. Yep. Now, in terms of what it can do, it displaces, I guess, that core electrocution protection within a household, but we provide additional safety with our product that can prevent electrically caused fires.
Right.
Technology that's existed for over 30 years. You won't see it or you might see it in 1 or 2 households in New Zealand.
Yep.
With the smart panel, it just is a toggle. It's either on or it's not. Now, it doesn't make sense to have it across your entire home, but just that is one little element in terms of a benefit for a household for that peace of mind, is when this thing's living and breathing there, it can help prevent electrically caused fires. But yeah, so safety is fundamental, right?
Safety.
Cost of entry.
Yeah.
And then we look at those 3 categories. We've got visibility, control, and then that optimization piece.
Okay, so give us the over the barbecue story around how and why did you start this thing and the journey that you've been on to date.
I guess how we started. My wife and my business partner, Danny, his wife, they used to work together in TV. So we'd catch up infrequently. We weren't best mates. Yeah. But I say we got along at the time. It literally was a barbecue on a Saturday afternoon at his place. And my business partner is that serial entrepreneur, seriously annoying guy where he probes, and when he's on a thread of something, he will just hit you with question after question after question after question. And the way it started was he was in a rental in Northcote, and it was an older rental, and through his previous role, which was in private equity investment, they were looking at investing in a couple of electricity metering companies, but the deals didn't stack because the cost to truck roll new technology was so high. But it stuck with Danny because he knew EVs were going to break the world at this point, right? So He's like, surely there's going to be something in this space that is, I guess, smart,
Yeah.
but something of value for consumers. And so he started pressing me with questions, but we went and stood in front of his smart meter and electrical switchboard, but at the time was just porcelain fuses, but it had this new smart meter on it. And for Danny did it stack. He's like, how can you have this new thing that's supposedly smart and then the switchboard that scares the hell out of me that I don't even want to go near?
Yeah.
And then my background being electrician and knowing some stuff,
Yeah.
that was sort of the instigator of the conversation. And I guess that was the inception.
Yeah.
And Danny wouldn't leave it alone. And then I start thinking about it more. And certainly from a trades perspective, being able to be a part of something that is truly revolutionary to the industry, but not just here at a global scale, this thing just started to get legs. It just became this sort of obvious thing that if it did exist, you could provide so much value to so many different parties, entities, and then fundamentally people. It'd be pretty cool if we did it.
Yeah.
And where we started was a very crude, we call it the Frankenstein prototype that we used for our very first pitch. I threw it together over a couple nights, sponsored by Bunnings, getting crappy materials and traditional products, and we cobbled this thing together. But it was enough for us to be able to speak to a story that investors could buy into, because we were tackling at the time and now a global problem or challenge, seriously challenging problem, where it was specifically on energy, electricity. And I guess it worked, but we had no idea what we were building.
Yeah.
Like, I at the time knew enough to be dangerous. Danny knew nothing, but
You kind of knew what the world needed,
yeah.
but it was about how do you get there.
And when
what is
you, like sort of to that story made sense. It was quite obvious. Like if you focus on the product, it's the product experience for electricians. You make that thing so simple and sexy and attractive that you build an army of people that have essentially been forgotten about, but they are critical to solving this challenge. So we knew product experience was always going to be really important. And then you look at that, I guess, person right at the very end of the chain, you and I and everyone else. If you can provide these people with a really simple, delightful little experience, but is driving real value to you, we knew that could be, I guess, the foundation of growing something much, much larger.
Because you've had, I mean, some really impressive kind of investment cycles, because, I mean, what gave you guys the idea, all the balls, to say, actually, the world needs this thing, we'll go develop it from scratch?
It sounds super cheesy, but there's no way we're in the position we're in today if we didn't have the team that we've managed to build along the way, both past and present. New Zealand bats well above its age when it comes to developing technology, right? There's a number of examples out there of just had global success and somehow they managed to start in New Zealand. We, hopefully, just become another story that builds into that. But it's when we started, we knew that product experience was critical. Technology could be solved. Any of our engineers are listening to this, I'm not beating you up. It's just how long. And then what you need to get there, and that's capital and people. And specifically, you got to have really unique skill sets. Well, interestingly enough, there's a ton of them that live in Christchurch, and University Camping just breeds them out. But when we started, we made a decision to not just go out and hire a team and build a thing. We were quite cautious and conservative, and especially with cash flow. It was just a belief that just get to that next milestone as quickly and as efficiently as you possible, and then work out what you need to do. But very early on, when we started a week before the whole country went into COVID lockdowns. I got married, and then a week later, we were locked into our homes. And actually ended up being really good for us because we didn't know what we were doing. We knew we were going to be able to raise a good amount of capital to get us to our next step, but we didn't have that. And so thank you, Labor, for the wage subsidy. But we were forced, living in Auckland for 6 weeks or whatever it was, and we couldn't go outside, so we were stuck in our computers. So we just had to work out, okay, how should we start doing this thing? And we were fortunate through an old career and affiliate of mine. Turns out that individual ran one of the last private testing laboratories for electrical things. We caught up with him, and he just made an off-the-cuff comment We had this prototype. We were going to white label existing safety devices and build our experience all around it. So it shouldn't be that hard to make your own. It's just sensing and switching something and a little bit of software. And of course, so we're like, oh, sweet, we'll just do it ourselves. We'll rebuild this thing that's existed for 50, 60 years. It shouldn't be that hard. There's a reason this product doesn't exist globally. There's a reason it's taken us 6 years, at times close to 90 engineers with specific domain expertise of certain components. And just fortunately in New Zealand, they exist. These people here exist. It's a very novel thing. It's the first of its kind in its world for the technology. It's not novel, the specific things, but coupling everything into one is very novel. So what our engineers have managed to achieve is truly a world first, which is epic.
It's amazing because as a punter who doesn't understand, the electrics and what's going on, even just hearing the amount of work and time and manpower that's gone into it,
Just
tells
to
me
be
there's
totally
a
clear,
lot more going
this
on.
journey has been brutal. It's obviously really rewarding, right? Because you get to build this epic thing and with some epic people, and the fruits of that success will be great. But it is incredibly hard and difficult. But I cannot stress that enough. Our team and what they have managed to achieve is beyond belief, really. We're just lucky. We had this idea of this thing, and it was really attractive to those people to want to help build.
It's interesting, right? Because there's been stuff developed almost in the peripheries, right? You can get smart light switches and smart plugs and all of these. And by goodness, by the time you bought them all, you've spent a fortune. But the interesting thing you're pointing out is all of those basically connect back to a dumb panel that does nothing, and you're trying to get the brains of that thing back into the core. Why? What does that achieve by smartening up the panel?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's plenty of reasons as to why, but even if we just start within the home, I mentioned before, it's arguably the most critical thing within a household nowadays, and especially the way that we live, but it is a complete black box. I would say 99.9% of everyday consumers have no idea of how important this thing truly is, apart from it's probably going to protect me in case something goes wrong. I guess the key importance here is, even if you were just to primarily focus on the safety within your household, right? The boring thing that no one really associates a true value to. In the event that something goes wrong, you want to know that that thing is going to keep you safe. In the event that this thing doesn't perform as it should, the likelihood is the worst case scenario. So you should automatically assume that you should really value this thing, right? Especially with electrification, the way that things are moving.
Worst case scenario, we're talking about what? I get shocked somehow, or there's a fire, or
I mean, a shock's a win because you don't die.
Okay.
Right. Electrocution.
Yes.
That's a really horrible outcome. And I don't like scaremongering people, but I like scaremongering people, because the reality is that core thing is the only thing in between you and this invisible magical thing that sits within a home and powers everything.
We really don't.
Truly life or death.
Yeah.
And so if we just looked at what this technology can truly do, it sits there and 24/7 all year round for the lifetime of that product. It's going to sit there and monitor it and make sure that every single person within that household is safe. But that's the safety, that's the boring stuff.
Just to be devil's advocate, though.
We like that.
Yeah. So I don't think about my current switchboard as unsafe. To be honest, I didn't really think hugely about it being a safety mechanism. It was just, I don't know, switches. I know if I stop and think about it, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there a bit of data that told you this was worth investing in? Because I suppose, general knowledge, people would go, I've never heard of anyone getting electrocuted. I don't know anyone whose house is burnt down. Do we actually have a problem here that needs solving?
Yeah. The electrically caused fires are typically the primary cause for house fires, right?
Wow.
Because it's, especially with aging infrastructure or aging cabling within households and old devices, these things fail. They're carrying a really dangerous thing.
So electricity is actually a really high cause of house fires.
Yeah, and it's bloody frightening.
What makes this smarter than that in terms of safety?
Yeah. There's where the fundamental difference sits is devices today, they're electromechanical. So they're just basically a part that sits there static. It's just sitting there to do the one job.
Yeah.
But there's no way for you to see remotely or access the data to see that it's actually performing the way that it should.
Yeah, right.
What this thing does, which is different, is it's driven by electronics and software.
Right.
And so it has the ability to pull that data
Yes.
and drive it into an app or an experience that
Yep.
can actually basically reassure you, give you the peace of mind that, hey, I'm here, I can see the thing, and I can tell you that I'm going to work when I need to work.
Yeah. What else does it do?
Where do we start?
What?
Let's just start with consumers, right? Like
Yep.
just in terms of our home app or our general experience for homeowners. We, as a business, we want to accelerate both the adoption of clean energy, but we want to make it effortless and affordable. And the way that we believe you start there is directly impact people's lives, households today, and where we, I guess, excel in that space is if we just focused on your electricity billing, right?
Yep.
That core utility, every month you get a bill, you've got no idea what the makeup of that cost is. Just where we start is just the visibility piece.
Yes.
So from the moment you install a smart panel, you have our app, you get instant visibility as to exactly where the costs are going in your home. When you first set up our app, one of the key, I guess, value propositions or starting point is actually loading in what electricity retailer you're with and what
Yep.
specific retail plan that you have in your home.
Mm.
So within our home app, we've developed it so you basically you jump into a retail comparison tool that we built.
Yeah.
It all lives within the app, and you just go through and select exactly what retail plan you're on. And we do this for the entire country. And from day one, this thing, it just starts learning, right?
Okay.
And not in a scary way. All it's doing is just literally sitting there, monitoring and building out your experience as time goes on.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of time, you get a really good understanding of exactly where your costs are going. Now, just having that visibility or access to insights, we're already, through the data that we're getting from existing customers, on an annual basis, people are accessing, some people it's small. It can only be maybe $100 just by having access to that insights because it's still up to you, right?
Yep.
Like you own that experience, you own your data. All
Yeah.
we're doing is giving you
How
the
you
tools and
adjust your
insights
behaviour
to
is
how
up to
you
you,
can
yeah.
shift and change things, right? But we're also getting results of the $500-$600 a year. It just really comes down to you, your home, and how you live, which is really unique.
And how detailed is it? Because, I mean, at the panel situation, you've just got circuits, right?
Correct.
But one circuit might have multiple things plugged into it.
Yeah.
How do you set that up so that information is a bit more granular for me as an end user?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we start at the electrician. Like
Yep.
they're our kings and queens, right,
Yeah.
of rolling out this kind of technology.
Yes.
And so we've got two digital experiences. One is for the electrician,
Yep.
and then one is for the homeowner.
Yep.
The electricians now, they're in a really unique space with technology like this because they're no longer buying devices from their wholesaler and plugging these devices in and wiring everything up. Out of the box, it's prefabricated, ready to plug in the wall, and all they do is connect their wires. But the way that they commission our product is now through an app, and it's driven through software.
Right.
So they go into our app, which you must be certified, which we ensure every single installer has gone through a form of training.
Yep.
And this trade app is just going through a process really quickly where they go and configure now what each circuit requires from a safety perspective.
Yep.
But separately to that, they now can identify exactly where in the home that circuit is going.
Yep.
So if you were to take a look at your switchboard today, you might have labels, you might not, but they're really general,
Yep.
right? You have power, lights, and then maybe some appliances, which you can do the same with this, but you can go a step further. So now you're looking at your home as an entire electrical system, and you can ring fence exactly where circuits are going. So it might be going to bedrooms, or bathrooms, or wherever it might go. They can identify that in their trade app, and that immediately ports over to the home app.
Right.
So on that first startup, when the consumer downloads the app, they open it up, immediately now they know exactly where every circuit in their home is going,
Yep.
just through that, I guess, tagging.
I suppose even that, right now I have zero connection to my power bill and that level of data, which
Correct.
arguably is there, but I can't figure it out.
You can't connect the dots.
No.
And I will raise this now because it is definitely a question that gets brought up. is this product, and specifically when we're talking about that critical safety settings within the household, that is all local on our panel. You are not reliant on internet for anything in terms of the operation of this product. You certainly are for the apps, like any other app that exists today, streaming data, sure. But when it comes to that critical safety of your household, that all lives in the device. And all the electrician doing is accessing it wirelessly, and then through the software selecting on that device what it needs to set. And then that's set and forget.
Okay, so I've got safety, I'm getting data around my power usage that's actually meaningful to me, so I can change some of my behaviours. Is there more to it than that?
There is. That, just in terms of the access and the visibility, is epic, right? Because now all of a sudden you can justify exactly your monthly bill, where that's going, and now it's up to you to do something. And as we know, if it's left up to just people to go and do the things, the likelihood is maybe for the first month, maybe even the first couple of weeks, sure. And then life hits and it's like, oh, nah, it's too much. So inside each circuit within the technology is the ability to control that circuit. So turning it off and on remotely, right? So once you've got your visibility, you've got all the access to your insights, right? You know exactly where you are. You can take that now. You've got the ability to now create schedules or routines within that household. So that's all just something that is fully accessible to homeowners. It's like setting an alarm on your phone. You go and set the alarm, you set the time that you want it to go off. It's the exact same for your circuit. And if you were to just do that in isolation, you won't know what you're doing because you can't compound that to why it would be valuable or meaningful to do it within your household, right? So we directly tie that back to, if I was to set this schedule or routine, it's going to equal this much in terms of savings per year. And so it's basically like an accelerating tool for that annualized savings. If we were to present that data to you at a day, and we'll say, hey, look, if you set the schedule, you're going to save 5 cents today. You should go for it. Probably not going to get the cut through. But if we focused, or once you've got these insights and the system starts to learn, okay, where's the big gains, immediate gains that we can make? And we can provide that to you in an insight. And the classic one for New Zealand is a hot water cylinder. And depending on you and your home, it could be 30%, it could be up to 60% of your annual bill. So it's quite significant. And most cylinders out there are static. They're just sitting there off a dumb thermostat that just heats and heats and heats. It's just by setting a schedule or routine. And it goes back to, we'll never promise you're going to save X amount if you do this. Once we've got a panel installed, we can assure you, driven by your data, how much you can save. But your household, you could save $100 a year just by setting this routine, set and forget, never think about it again. Zero impact to your hot water in your home.
What you're saying is, it doesn't rely on me doing the math and thinking about that. It's actually going to suggest it to me. I get a notification because I've completely forgotten about this thing that I spent money on, and it's going, oh, hey, by the way. Okay, so we've talked about safety, we've talked about visibility, and the knock-on of that is your control. What do you mean by optimization? Because, again, this is a new concept that I have no ability to optimize my current system. That obviously comes with it. Explain that to me.
When we talk about optimization within the home, it can be quite a confronting thing because it's never existed before. And sure, it's really technical, but in its maybe simplest form, you combine that visibility, you combine the ability to access control. Optimization is now looking ahead. Most homes today are becoming electrified, but if you even just forecast 5 to 10 year period, homes are going to start to be fundamentally different in terms of their relationship with energy, right?
Tell me a bit more what you mean by electrified, because as a punter, I mean, do you mean it's got power going through it? My house already has power going through it.
Okay. Let's revisit the hot water cylinder as an example. So it's an electric thing, but we look at what's happening with heat pump hot water systems, right? That's a far more efficient cylinder. That forms part of the electrification vision. But then you start looking at EVs, which, all things going on in the world, is quite a popular topic. Things like solar, battery. You look at air conditioning systems or ducted systems. It's transitioning transitioning into a world where those core things within the home are becoming electric.
Okay, so more. Gotcha.
And it's all predicated on efficiency, total system efficiency, right? If we look at things within our home, right, and things all around are all becoming smart. But they're all becoming smart by themselves. So individually, right? So each thing is now got an app.
Yep.
and it's got its own experience, and that's its value prop. And
Yep.
it's driving, trying to sell you to engage
yeah,
with this
yeah.
thing. But now you're getting worlds where you've got multiples of these things. And so when we basis talk about optimization, we're that core thing to the home. We're the heart of the home now,
Yes.
and we're smart,
Yep.
and we can connect and talk to these other things. And so simplifying that experience within the installation or the home is core to our brand and what we're trying to achieve,
Yep.
right?
So the obvious one, the lowest hanging fruit was hot water.
Yep.
What's next?
The hot water cylinder one is an obvious one, sure. But then you've got to look at heating applications, typically your next in category.
Okay.
If you've got EV, there's smart EV chargers. It's got their own app, their own
Yep.
experience. We'll obviously naturally start working with that as to how you can match when you charge versus your cost of electricity. Because we've got this
right.
retail comparison tool, right?
Yep.
So you can't power your thing unless it goes through the smart panel. So now we can see what it's costing you. We
Yes.
can take that to your bill. We can
Yep.
tell you exactly what it's costing you and when you could shift it to where it costs you less.
Interesting.
And that goes for any circuit.
Yeah, it is amazing how complex it gets, and no wonder right now consumers kind of just ignore it because it's too hard. Like, you know, you've made the step, you've got an EV, the power company might have made you put a little thing in there so that it's charging at certain times, but it's all too hard to work out what plan I'm on and what time should I start turning it on and all of that. You know, like that's, I suppose I'm really starting to understand the far-reaching implications of the smarts being at that level, as opposed to all the individual devices. And a big part is because then the data's there to make decisions and change behaviours. Okay, give me. I'm interested in some sort of case studies. You must have some now. Both. We'll start with some users that have put it in and what the feedback's been. What have they seen the benefit of?
Yeah. I'll start with the retailer comparison tool because that is probably the maybe more obvious space in which you can save money. So the little statistic there is 4 out of 5 consumers don't switch retailers. And 1 out of 5 do, and they're consistently the ones because they're cotton on. If I stay up to date with my electricity retail plan, I'm going to have the lowest cost of electricity year on year, and I'm going to save. So there's a large portion of the market that's sitting there that's got immediate savings that they could be making right now. But just by being matched for you, your home, the way that you consume energy to the right retail plan, in excess of $1,000 a year, you could be wasting right now. And so we like to temper it. So when you put the smart panel in, give it a few months. Normally by the first week, you've got a profile, right? But you do chop and change. And so you could go a month. That's typically a billing cycle. And that's probably the best place to start before you should really engage with this thing. But I always say, just give it 3 months. Just let it live, learn. You also, with your own visibility, understand now exactly where your costs are going, and then engage with this tool that's in the app. So all we do is, because we know where the smart panel lives in the country, we pull every single available retail plan that's available to you right now. And we just simply match it. And it's a direct comparison. You're on this, here's your rate, here's your spend. And then we start from the best all the way down to the worst. Now, the difference that you will see as a consumer, and it does depend on where you are and specifically how big your spend is monthly, which does vary, is staggering. Like we're talking north of $2,000 difference from best to worst.
Okay, most of our audience is probably in construction industry, so developers, architects, engineers, builders, things like that.
We like those people.
And you get a case study around someone in industry using it, so not retail, but perhaps a builder or a developer who's adapted it, and tell me a bit about their journey around how did they end up making the decision and why did they go with it?
I'll start with a brand that most people will be familiar with. It's a green one called Signature Homes. So we've been engaged with them for quite some time. We're engaged with them before we're actually in market. And subsequently, since then, we've signed a national show home agreement so we can get this thing out there and get it into their nice, highly prized products. But just recently, it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, we went live with the franchise that's based in Waikato and Jamie's team down there. Now, there is a misconception, which arguably is fair until you've, I guess, spoken to us or one of our certified installers, that this thing looks expensive. And this thing should only exist in a really nice home, design and build home, or a higher end product, where it's wrong. The Where this thing should sit is for the people that could gain the most out of it, which is
Yeah.
the mass market. Those people that if you can save them $500 a year or $1,000 a year, that's really meaningful.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a topic of price, but just come and talk to us.
Yeah.
It's actually really not that expensive, and it's something that pays itself back,
Right.
and that's a big thing here.
Yes.
It's an investment. Now, your return on that investment depends on your home.
Yep.
But where Signature and specifically Waikato franchise come in is Jamie, the managing director there. The moment he saw this, it was so immediately obvious to him because he understands and appreciates how everyone lives nowadays.
Yeah.
And he gets it. It's the last thing in their home that, in terms of something unique in the product they're building, this is front and center for consumers. So we just went live with their team down there, and for Jamie and his team, and I guess the overarching Signature brand, but also Waikato. They saw that almost as a critical piece to the story and the product and the brand that they're trying to build with people, right?
And how are they selling it to their customers? What are they? Yeah, what's the story they're saying?
Those three core
Same three
principles,
things,
right?
yeah.
Now, every single home that they build, they're giving their future homeowners the ability just to have that visibility now.
Yep.
They're now giving them access to actually control
Yeah.
their costs or their
Yeah.
running costs of that utility, and they're future-proofing their homes.
Yeah.
Once this technology's in, because it's driven by software for the lifetime of it, it doesn't go stale, it doesn't go old. It forever keeps up to date.
Interesting, I think like if I'm sitting in Signature's shoes, kind of going, I want to bring some smarts to this home that I'm offering, it can get bloody expensive pretty quick, right? Whereas they can get that story and the benefits, not just a hollow story, but some tangible benefits out of one thing at the heart of the home that it's pretty sellable. That's
I don't know if I should say this, but
compelling.
I'll say it anyway because they're an epic team. They're eating the cost of this. There's
Yeah.
nothing that's being passed into the way that they sell
Yeah.
the product. Now, yeah, sure, maybe they might be unique, but we are dealing with others that are discussing and talking the exact same way. It's something that is just so obvious for the homes or the product that builders or developers are shipping today.
Yeah.
It's hard to, I guess, argue against the fact where it just makes sense
Yes.
for someone buying a new home to have a product like this to be able to access the benefits or the value.
Yeah. So where do you see it going? What's the future look like?
Horizons. Going right now, where we're trying to invest a lot of time and effort is in the immediate sort of infrastructure optimization space, right? So we've got our consumers, we've got that whole proponent of our business. Next step for us is now you get all this data, that's great, but what's the meaningful impact you can have to other stakeholders? So looking at things like electricity demand. So electricity networks have no other choice than to design networks for that 1%, that exact peak. Because if they don't supply to that, network drops out, everyone loses power. We all hate you, electricity networks. It's a horrible game to play.
Yeah.
But that's because everything's static. Well, now if you go to a world where you've got a rollout of these smart things that can actively, I guess, shed or load shed, control things, shift things, well, immediately you end up in a different space and you're looking at really large CapEx investments.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is we've got this platform as can we have an immediate impact on now to just be able to design things better, design systems better. So that directly impacts developers and builders on a slightly larger scale because you're stuck. You have a large site and you have to go to that network and say, I need X amount of power. Well, you're doing that at a static level. Or if you could do it at a dynamic level and have this smart thing, well, maybe your CapEx is reduced and some results we're seeing is quite significant.
Yeah.
It's got a tailing benefit. Everything typically always falls back to the consumer at the end benefiting, right? So that's where we're starting to invest a lot of time in there.
So I'm a developer and I'm going to build 100 homes in here. And so in that early stages of development, I'm talking to power suppliers, and because they're trying to design for the peak, they're saying you're going to need this size cable to this many places, and all of a sudden that starts getting, I'd say very expensive, but it is what it is because there's no alternative. Now you would partner with that developer and go, okay, we'll give you some tangible stuff to go back to show that actually demand is this, and now we can downgrade the infrastructure because the load's
Yep.
a heck of a lot lower.
Correct. Yeah. So there's the immediate, that capex or that infrastructure spend, and then there's the ongoing, so that operating as well.
Yeah.
Because now you've reduced that, then your
And the
ongoing
end
reduces because
user's got
you're needing less.
benefits,
So yeah, and that goes for developers doing knockdown rebuilds, and you're
Yep.
doing the old 4 to 7 townhouses on a single site. Savings in that space could be 10 grand, could be 60 grand.
Yeah.
Some of the results we've seen, it's epic.
Wow.
But you go on a larger scale, then yeah, you're getting into some serious numbers.
Yeah.
So that's an exciting space right
I
now.
mean, the cost of the unit just disappears at that point.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then some. That's exciting. And then you look beyond that, it's a wild zone.
Yeah.
So the beauty of launching in New Zealand, albeit a small market, it's quite a relatively mature market.
Okay.
So we can test almost our full business model here.
Yep.
We've launching very quietly into Australia, which will have a maybe a louder bang around mid-year.
Yep.
We've got some product going into Singapore, which just fell on our lap.
Yeah.
But that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But naturally for us, it's get this product out there, scale it, prove the value at a consumer level, prove the value from a platform perspective. So that's, yes, we've got our builders and developers, we've got electricity networks, we've got retailers, we've got other said insurance providers. It's just get that map sorted so that you know exactly where the maximum value is that you can drive to ultimately achieve that sort of mission
Yeah.
that we're going for. And then for us, it's scale. Yeah. So this product we can take to a number of different places. We've got a next generation, looking at 3-phase, looking at larger capacities, increasing that, I guess, market scope. That's enough for me to think about for one time. But yeah, there's directionally we can take this thing quite a lot of places. But for us, it's sort of a signal to noise sort of scenario now where we just focus on consumers and just focus on that lifetime value of all the other stakeholders. We just do that really well, simply and really well, then not to say the world's our oyster, but it just sets that platform for true global scale.
Well, man, I want to acknowledge the step that you guys have taken, and it was risk. It's taken a lot of investment, a lot of work, probably a lot of tears, a lot of stress, and at a lot of points where you're wondering if this was ever actually going to work and get off the ground. You're pioneering into a space that you saw needed attention, needed innovation. Others were either didn't know or ignoring, and certainly on a broader scale, the rest of us had no idea that this was needed to be done. And for me, from this conversation, and obviously I've known about the product for a while, but it's taken kind of this much of the conversation to really understand the broader implications of it. And I'm just just stoked with you guys, and stoked that it's working. And I can see. Well, I bet you. But it's really exciting actually to sit here and go, this is going to be one of these New Zealand companies one day that everybody knows, and it's a success story like Xero's and Rocket Labs and things like that. And we're still in that early stage, very, very early, really. But it's pretty clear where it's going.
Thanks, mate. That's really nice. Try not to be that stupid, humble Kiwi that dismisses what you say. It's certainly been a journey. But when we had our launch party, which was epic because we could bring all sort of partners in, right? The messaging was very clear. We're now just hit the start line. So all of that, which has been epic now. Now the real challenge starts because you've got to actually prove to both New Zealand but beyond. Why you're here, right? It's cool. We're certainly excited.
Mate, it's awesome.
Beauty.
Appreciate it.
No worries. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for joining us. And if you didn't hear me at the start, like and subscribe, or Lexi beats me up. And more importantly, like I said, actually tell someone about it, share it. If you've got questions that haven't been answered in this, reach out to either us, but get in touch with Basis. And it sounds like obviously there's applications for everybody in this audience, be it builder, architect, developer. Think about an architect. You probably don't normally specify a panel. Would you need to now? Not necessarily, but actually, if you're thinking about the energy of the whole home, I'm thinking about passive architects and things like that, actually now you might want to actually consider thinking about a smart panel where you didn't have the option. So look, get in touch with us. Appreciate you following along, and we'll catch you on the next one.